Hey everybody, this is Chris Feyrer. Yep, I'm actually making a video again. This is my first real video since probably Gen Con of last year, when I was a bit on a high because I was meeting a lot of people that were famous and interesting, and I was marketing my music around. So I was a little bit odd that time. You know, I'm actually a pretty normal guy, right? No, not really. Anyway, welcome to my new set, as it were. This is where I am in my recording studio. I have redecorated. I got the TARDIS, and it's now sitting there. This is actually, yes, it is the real TARDIS. I think every recording studio should have one. You know, I got some Dr. Horrible stuff back there, and Edgar's disembodied head over there, and so I think I'm pretty much set. Oh, and that's a book of choir tunes, because I like to analyze choir tunes, because I think that a lot of them can be very emotionally engaging. So, this is actually a response to Andrew Seeley's review of The Impossible Astronaut, a Doctor Who episode for the new season of Doctor Who. I am very excited that Doctor Who has come back to the screens. I've been a fan since probably about 1982, maybe? And so it's a big deal for me for it to be back. I've been paying attention to all of the advertisements. I've been paying attention to the spoilers, so I am not going to give anything away, but I may or may not slip, so you have been warned. First thing I would like to say is that it did blow away my expectations. Having known a bit about the plot and seen the advertisements, I was pretty much expecting a Russell T Davies-like romp, and that was lighthearted and jumping around, and there'd be grays, and there'd be little stupid moments of silliness. But we didn't get that. Instead, we got a very serious, very scary, very engaging episode that has set the tone for another dark season. One of the things that I thought of first when viewing this episode was how many times the Doctor has died in the new series. And I mean dead. I don't mean dead, regenerating dead. The first one that I can think of is when, in, I believe, Turn Left, the Doctor died because Donna was unable to stop him from killing that spider creature that was in the Runaway Bride. She didn't show up because of a time change that happened, and he was drowned before he could regenerate. And they really didn't show much on screen besides, you know, a body covered by a tarp and the sonic screwdriver falling out of his hand, which made me start to think about how it must be to be like a 8-year-old or a 9-year-old watching this new episode of Doctor Who. I'm going to spoil this episode. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm spoiling Impossible Astronaut because there's some stuff I really need to talk about. Seeing your childhood hero, you know, shot and killed on screen, I don't know how that would go over well with the 8- and 9-year-old crowd. They're probably pretty excited to see how it all plays out because Doctor Who always wins. But I'm reminded of back in the day, in the old series, they killed off Adric. And Adric was a very, well, not the most popular character, but he was about 15 or 16 years old, and the BBC was flooded with calls when they killed him off. He was killed crashing into the Earth 65 million years ago in a Cyberman spaceship that caused the extinction of the dinosaurs. What a way to go, huh? That was in a 5th Doctor episode called Earthshock. But after the BBC was flooded with all these complaints, you know, it was still a rating smash, and I don't know how that might have affected kids at that time, but I don't know if I was a kid in the UK and I saw my childhood hero killed on screen, I'd be traumatized for a little while, unless I'm just underestimating kids, and they'd be like, oh, this is obviously some sort of ploy. But, you know, seeing Amy crying over the doctor's body and everybody flipping out would probably not be good for the average 7 to 9-year-old who would end up crying until about 2 a.m. Rather than a positive way. There's always the argument that Doctor Who is supposed to be very scary and very not talk down to children. Well, this season looks to be a testament to that. I myself found the episode to be quite unsettling. The aliens, which I will not name because they have not been named on screen yet, although everybody has been naming them on the internet anyway. They remind me of like an ood if you ran it through a chemical bath. They're pretty creepy. According to my mother, the Nixon actor is accurate with voice, but inaccurate in every other way. I had very low expectations as far as that stuff was concerned. But apparently they captured the White House, and it was really good to see American accents that were actually American accents. There was a First Doctor episode called The Gunfighters, in which the Doctor visits America, and it's all in the early, the mid-60s, and they're all pretending to have American accents, and it was very, very trashy, and is actually voted one of the worst Doctor Who episodes of all time, so it didn't take much to improve on that. This is actually turning out to be pretty stream of consciousness, isn't it? Oh, there's a lot in here when it comes to Doctor Who, so I'm going to just keep going. Let's see, what can I talk about? River Song. Had a discussion with my wife about River Song's timetable and how her traveling in time, getting to know, as the Doctor knows more about her, she knows less about the Doctor, and how it reflects movies like Benjamin Button and books like The Time Traveler's Wife. But it's well known that Doctor Who has always stolen things from other shows whenever it feels like it. A good example being the Time Lord, the Time Lords, when they showed up in The End of Time and had a galactic senate of all the Time Lords that looked exactly like the galactic senate from the prequels of Star Wars. Obviously, it was one of those campy homage things. So there's that, and I thought that that was interesting, and I think that it was a perfect match for Doctor Who. I can imagine Russell or Steven sitting there looking at trying to think of a new idea for Doctor Who, seeing The Time Traveler's Wife and reading it and going, oh, well, they pretty much figured it out for us. And so it's adapted fine, and I really think it's interesting. I think Alex Kingston has really just dove into her role and has brought some depth to River Song that you might not have seen in another actress. I think that Rory is going to be one of those underrated characters. What I mean by that is we don't often see a soft-spoken companion. But he's perfect in the comparison to Amy, who's very outspoken. So I think that's a good pairing. He's kind of like the if you had a comedy person, you'd have the outgoing person and you'd have the straight man. Well, he's the straight man. And obviously very straight, since he almost destroyed the universe by looking up Amy's skirt. I think that he's underestimated, frankly. This goes out to Andrew Seeley. He's underestimated, and he needs to be given a little bit of rope because he is an understated character, which is rare in Doctor Who, and I think that Arthur Deville pulls off the role very well, given that that's the material he's been handed. So I am not a Rory fan, but I'm not anti-Rory at all. I think that he adds a little bit more of a it's okay to be soft-spoken and be on Doctor Who-ness to it, which was not there before. Back to the episode. Let's see. Utah. Oh yeah, Edward Canton, the I'm a Firefly person that's in Doctor Who. That was pretty cool. He did a great job. I think that what I really liked was the characterization of the Americans. I like the fact that they were kind of hardcore, serious, really, really upset that there was a police box in the White House and about to kill the Doctor. And I think that that's very much how it would play out. I think that it's cool that the Canton character took to the Doctor and gave him a chance. This played out in a much more serious way that I think added to, not necessarily realism, because it's not very real, but it was a depiction that I could invest in. Because whenever you're watching Doctor Who, you always have to have some sort of suspension of disbelief. And you're either having suspension of disbelief, like, okay, sure, we're in World War II, or we're having suspension of disbelief, oh, sure, Rose destroyed all the Daleks because she took in the heart of the TARDIS and, you know, wiped them out with her mind. As you can see, one's a small reach and one's a large reach. And there's a big span in between, and you have to walk that line. And as a writer, I think Stephen Moffat maybe takes a more, I'm not going to be campy, I'm going to be fairy tale approach to it than Russell that I appreciate. If you've kept up, because I know I'm going all over the place, I am thinking about how the plot's going, the story arc and what I know about it, how it's going to play up. I think that everybody will be, especially you, Andrew, if you're watching this, will be pleasantly surprised at how many story arcs do get resolved. One thing about, there was a comparison by Andrew of Doctor Who to Lost, and how so many things were left unsaid in Lost. Well, you do have some mystery in Doctor Who, hence the title of the show. A lot of that mystery was lost as the revelations about who the Time Lords were, who the Doctors were, came down over the years. If you think this is weird and adding a lot of unanswered questions, you should watch the 7th Doctor's episodes towards the end of his run, where you have 8th grader level high school show people running the show. And okay, I'm not a fan of the 7th Doctor's era. I'll put it right there. I think Curse of Fenric is one of the low points of Doctor Who. They tried to reintroduce mystery into Doctor Who. It was very deliberate, very over the top, very campy, and very stupid. And if you think this is trying to push the mystery button a little bit too much, you haven't seen anything until you've seen Curse of Fenric and Ghostlight in the old series. I mean, it was so over the top that it was like, please, I understand why they canceled it. If you watch the last season of Doctor Who through Battlefield, you'll be like, okay, yeah, I see why they put this on break. So don't worry about it. Stephen Moffat has a way of resolving his plot holes. Look at the Big Bang. I mean, he pretty much tied everything in a knot except for a few things that he wanted to not tie in a knot for this season, like who is the Silence and who is River Song, and a couple ambiguous things like that. But that's fine. Everything else, if you think about it, got tied up pretty nicely. So I'm not too concerned that we're going to be left with lots of questions. In conclusion, I think that this was a great episode of Doctor Who. I think it was a very dark episode of Doctor Who. I liked all the characterizations. I liked the aliens. I liked the mystery. I was intrigued at the way that Stephen likes to twist and play with time. And I'm looking forward to the conclusion next week and the other conclusions that are going to come as the mini mystery arcs, you know, play themselves out. So, thank you very much. If you watched this far, power to ya. I can ramble on about Doctor Who forever. I look forward to continuing these reviews in the next weeks. If I'm going to leave a question for the comments, how scary do you think the new aliens are compared to the Daleks? Go ahead and comment below. If you like this review, please spread it on and like it and do all those wonderful things that people do for videos they like. I would appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week. Don't look behind you.